want to read it to you, just in case anyone says, God doesn't say anything about living together. It says right here, not in chambering. Not in chambering. And finally, Matthew chapter 5. You know, Brother Marcus and Brother Rhett have been working at a few traditional churches, and they've discovered what kind of we already knew. Many of the various pastors sleep around. And it's well known. It's actually kind of expected. It's kind of the norm. It's evil. It's an abomination. We just saw on television last week that a pastor was indicted for perjury. Now, perjury is such a nice word, you know. He was indicted for lying. Right. Real simple. A pastor was indicted for lying. I just think that's horrible. I mean, that's horrible. You know, this guy has this large church, and you recall the particular thing. His nephew, who took over as pastor, turns out to be his son. But the nephew didn't know that. The nephew always grew up thinking, that's my uncle. Turns out, no, that's daddy. He slept with your mother's husband's wife. She was married at the time. Doesn't matter. This chaos is all throughout the church. What, 2 years ago, up in the Northwest, the pastor was having sex with a male prostitute, plus doing drugs. And at first, that's what was covered up. Well, it was drugs, and they couldn't decide, are drugs worse or is the male prostitute worse? They couldn't decide. No, they're both bad. They're both evil. This is what we're dealing with in the church. And we keep looking at it and saying, yeah, well, what God's going to do about it? And God says, I've already told you. I've already told you what I'm going to do about it. I've already told you what I'm going to do about it. Let's go to Matthew 13 and we'll conclude on that. And that will set us up for the subsequent...
You told us about Matthew 5.
Oh, I did? Matthew 5? Thank you. I did say Matthew 5. I want to look at verse 32. Complete this whole fornication thing. So good to have multiple witnesses. But I say unto you that whosoever shall put away his wife, saving for the cause of fornication, causes her to commit adultery, and whosoever shall marry her that is divorced also committed adultery. So there's only one valid reason for divorce: fornication. When one of those partners has sex outside of the marriage covenant. That's it. Yet, in the church, the divorce rate is greater than the divorce rate in the world. Now, the divorce rate in the world has gone down significantly, which is amazing. It's gone down. It used to be almost 80%. It's down to 40%. Yet the divorce rate in the church is still exceedingly high. And the reasons are not fornication. It'd be one thing if that was the reason. That's another big problem. But those aren't the reasons divorces are happening in the church. But from God's perspective, there's only one reason. Which means people are just creating adultery because they're joining multiple partners, yet the original partner is still there, spiritually. That's what we're facing. That's part of the witchcraft. That's part of the thing where we're deemed okay. We said it's okay. But it's not okay from God's perspective.
Amen.
It's evil. And if we're going to stand for God, we have to stand for that which is good, which is His Word. Amen. And not give in to pressure. Now, here's the thing, right? Wow, think about it. Peer pressure has always been around, right? And if you're smart when you're a teenager, you told your friends no to whatever they're telling you, drugs or whatever it was. And as you got older, it was always peer pressure.